Okay, so welcome again to the session, Sally. Hopefully Lynn will join us as well. But in the meantime, let's just crack on with it, shall we? So just going to share my screen with you. Live stream thing going. Yeah, so any questions or anything like that you want to address? Or
no, I was reading the insert, psychology one.
Yeah, psychotherapy, yeah.
Psychotherapy one, and yeah, I've gone over that several times, but not sure how much is going in. But anyway, I'll do it.
No, there's quite a lot to that. It's a good little supplement. So that was given. Let me just in fact, we won't share screen there. I'll just talk to that about that supplement was given later. It was the same process of scribing that the course came through. Course came between 1965 and 1977. So that was the workbook, the manual for teachers, and the text. And then she had a bit of a break for a few years, and then that supplement and the Song of Prayer came subsequently. I'm not sure exactly when, but a few years later, via the same process as kind of addendums, supplements to the course. Once the course had kind of got out there and it was being quite well received, they started off by printing this manuscript, just kind of photocopying and printing. And there wasn't, they couldn't do enough of it. People would just take the copies, and then they decided. So there were four. There was kind of a committee of four. It was Helen Schuckman, Bill Thetford, Judy Scutch, and Ken Wapnick. And they sat down and they realized they got the guidance that they needed to publish it. And Judy Scutch got the insight that the people who would publish, because they'd tried a few publishers and they'd been rejected, the people who would publish it would dedicate their lives to it. And we're like, whoa, that's a big ask. And she realized that actually that Yeshua was talking about them. They would publish it and they would dedicate their lives to it, which she shared with the group, and they then kind of committed to that, and said, okay, we'll do this, especially Judy Scutch and Ken Wapnick. And then I think within like the next day or something crazy after that meeting, some guy phoned up from Mexico and said, oh, I've just got one of these photocopied versions and I love it, and I just have come into some land via an inheritance, and I want to sell the land and use the money to publish the book. It was totally miraculous. Like the next day after having that kind of session and they were asking, well, how do we publish it? And when they committed, basically Yeshua wanted them to commit, and then he's like, okay, well, it's fine, you committed, I'll give you the money. And then it just it showed up, and like literally a check appeared for exactly the right amount to publish it in the first run from this donor. So the whole process was miraculous and really guided. And then this psychotherapy purpose, processes, and practice supplement came later, and now it's been included in the course, so it's in the full, like the latest editions, certainly of the Foundation for Inner Peace version. I'm not sure about the others, but I imagine it will be the complete annotated version, which the Circle of Atonement put out. I think is is bigger. They've included more, so it's probably in there as well. And then there's a song of prayer, which we'll do next. So it's her body of work. She also did some poems. So we'll finish the song of prayer, I don't know, sometime in January, and then we'll do some poems every day until it finishes in February, 5th of February, I think will be the so then you've got a kind of her life's work really, as a scribe coming through. The poems she wrote herself, wasn't via the same dictation process, but some of them are quite beautiful. So then you've got this body of work that is included in this program. So we study all of it, and hopefully get as much out of it as we can. And then next year we'll focus in on the text and the manual for teachers and these supplements, rather than the workbook. If there's a choice, because unfortunately, with the amount of time, one session a day, there's a choice as to what you focus on. You can't do it all. So we'll focus on that. We'll get those recordings done, and then the following year revert to the text and these teachings that I give as well, which are kind of related to the lesson. A quote leads you into the lesson, whereas the text is doing its own thing. Sometimes there's a great synergy between the text and the lesson, and other times not. I mean, it's always related, but some people say, well, is the text designed to be read alongside with the workbook? No, not necessarily. If you read a section at a time, sometimes it gels perfectly, and other times the text and the lessons are doing their own thing, because they were scribed independently. The text came first, so that was the first thing, and then the workbook, and then the manual for teachers, and then the supplements. That's how it came, which makes sense. The text is the body of the theory, and then the workbook is how do you apply the theory, so that would logically come second, and then manual for teachers, like the FAQs, which would come afterwards for advanced teachers who want to go deeper. So he constructed the course in a logical way, because remember, he was dealing with psychotherapists who were very logical, very academic, very logical. They were used to writing dissertations and theses and academic papers, and so he constructed it in a very kind of logical manner. So that's just a bit of history about how it all came, which might be interesting or not. And then Helen Schuckman is quite interesting, because she never fully embraced the teachings. She was quite resistant, in fact, to the message. In fact, she said at some point, I'm in the crazy position, or the curious position, of not believing in my own life's work. And talk about cognitive dissonance, like some inner conflict there, which maybe is why she eventually died of cancer. 1981, I think she passed away from cancer, which would be a symptom of that inner conflict. She was quite a kind of uptight, highly strung lady by the sounds of it. So hardly the spiritual master you would think would come through this, but just shows you anyone, all things are possible for God. As she says in the preface, we were most unlikely, her and Bill were the most unlikely candidates to have been chosen, on the face of it anyway, because they weren't living their lives anything like the course. They were very invested in the ego's thought system, and yet this amazing teaching came through them, which shows you that all things are possible with God. But
what occurred to me was that if she had been fully embodying everything the course gave, people would have put her up on a pedestal and said that she's this amazing person that knows all this stuff. And actually what's happened, it's made the material independent, hasn't it?
Maybe that's a good perspective. Yeah. So she was, and she was very clear. I'm just the scribe. I'm not the teacher. Yeshua's the teacher. I've just written down pretty much verbatim what he said, And I don't always agree with it. I'm like, in fact, highly resistant to a lot of it. She didn't, I think, to her dying day, embrace the teachings and didn't live them. She still had all kinds of ego issues with people and would get angry and upset. She was quite famous for that. Ken Walkman tells some stories about it. And he said, well, Helen is Helen, that's just where she is, and what can you do? But the teaching is the teaching, and whether the scribe applies the teachings or not does not make the teaching valid or invalid. So people could, there are people who quibble with the Course in Miracles, and they try and fault find and say, oh, well, the scribe the person didn't live it, and they misinterpret. I think it was a channeled teaching, which it wasn't. It was transcribed. She literally, she said it was like an inner voice that she heard, and she just wrote down kind of what it said. So it was a process of dictation, and then it would stop. And if she needed it to stop, she had something else, she would say, okay, and then it would pick up again randomly sometime later in the day or the next day, exactly where it had left off. It never lost its place. So that's why it's consistently logical. Now you can't really imagine how a human being could do that. To write A Course in Miracles is it would require a master's knowledge, someone like Yeshua, and then the ability to to string it all together, to construct the course, to not lose the train of it if it's written over 7 years. So you can't really doubt the authenticity of it because of the process, because of her candor, honesty. She's going like, well, I didn't write this, and it was actually a very difficult process. I found it very uncomfortable, but there was no thought of stopping. I knew that this was my task, and I had to do it. And then Bill Thetford was there with her to help her. Yeshua knew that she would need support, so he chose exactly the right people, although they didn't seem to be the right people in the level of form, because he knew they would do the job. If he'd chosen a hobo or something, clearly that probably wouldn't have been a wise choice, because it just wouldn't have got done. They had access to the writing materials. They had each other. They understood how to frame things in academic terms, write papers, which they did all the time. So this just was okay. It kind of fitted into them. And then the basis of it was psychotherapeutic. It was all about psychotherapy, really, and then merging that into this mystic Christian idea of the Christ and the Holy Spirit and God and the Trinity, and so it was a merging of the modern with this ancient teaching, to show them that actually these this was all very relevant in their psychotherapeutic world. This took them way deeper than their existing knowledge of psychotherapy could. I mean, they would have known about Jung and Freud and these kinds of things, these kinds of teachings, but this was like another level of it, a merging of a non-dual teaching into psychotherapy. It's quite unique. I don't know of any other document, anything else that's quite done that. So we have a very unique teaching at our disposal to help us awaken, that you can relate to from a psychotherapeutic angle, if that's your angle. You can relate to it as a traditional Christian if you're a bit open-minded, because it uses the Christian terminology. If you're not Christian at all, you could relate to it because it's a universal spiritual teaching. If you just understand the terminology means something in your terminology. So the Christ becomes the Buddha, for instance, or the Atman, the Holy Spirit. There's various names for that in different traditions. In the sort of New Age tradition, be called intuition, or your higher self, or your inner voice, your guide. There's many parallels. So it's pretty amazing teaching. And then the supplement just came, I think, to kind of flesh it out and say, okay, well, if you're involved in psychotherapy, or if you're a healer of any kind, then, here's a little supplement for you to help you to understand what your role is. Because actually saying any healer, all healing is psychotherapeutic healing. True healing is of the mind, so it's psychotherapy. And so therefore, you and I, we both do healing of the mind. We're psychotherapists, effectively. The world might not call us that, but effectively we are, because we're helping the people to heal their minds. And then, so he's just addressing some of the issues and saying you need to be responsible. So maybe we can look at that. Have you got any questions about
it? Most of it just feels like how I'm living my life, how I see life is. But the bit about charging for it, there was some section on it about should you charge, and it said no, you'd be an unhealed healer if you were to charge, or something like that. So I haven't quite got that right in my head yet about that.
Yeah, is that still to come? I think. I don't think we've quite. Where are we today? Let's have a look. Where is it? Instrument for peace. There we go. So, selection of patients. Is psychotherapy a profession? And the question of payment. Okay, so that's the next section. No one can pay for therapy, for healing is of God, and he asks for nothing. So I have a part of his plan that everything in this world be used by the Holy Spirit to help in carrying out the plan. Even an advanced therapist has some earthly needs while he's here. Should he need money, it will be given him, not in payment, but to help him better serve the plan. Money is not evil, it's nothing, but no one here can live with no illusions, for he must strive to have the last illusion be accepted by everyone everywhere. There's a mighty part in this one purpose for which he came. Yeah, I think, when he says only an unhealed healer, which let me share my screen. We can just dive into this a bit quickly, if you like. I'm glad you brought it up, because I've been meaning to do something with it.
To me, in the illusion, it seems to me that ego people, ego parts of me need to commit to joining a course. That I'm running a year course, and if people didn't pay, they wouldn't really commit themselves to it. It just, I know. Anyway, yeah, carry on. That was my thought.
Yeah, I understand totally. If people have paid, they generally are more committed, just because they've paid and they want to get some value for money. It's a natural, just how human beings work. I think what he's saying here, only an unhealed healer would try to heal for money. What he's saying here is that your purpose would be for money.
Right.
You see, so it's all about interpretation.
I see.
Because you're charging doesn't mean you're healing for money. You're charging because you have some needs that need to be met. You can't dedicate all your time to doing this work for free and then, not be able to afford to live yourself. That's not sustainable, and it's not helpful to you or your patients. But are you doing it for money? Your primary purpose, that wouldn't be it wouldn't be a healed healer, would it?
No.
And he or she will not succeed to the extent to which he values it. Okay, so do you value only the money? Okay, I'm only doing this because I want the bucks. And I think sometimes that's the case. You see some of the fees that are charged for coaching, and I was looking at I got an email yesterday from some guy who does breathwork. They teach breathwork courses, and the angle to get you to sign up to his breathwork course, it's a trainer course. He's going to train you how to do breathwork, was how much money you could make. And I found it a bit distasteful. I was like, that's not really in the spirit of healing at all. Oh, well, some guy's making $3,000 for 6 sessions. And I'm going, that's not the right angle at all. That doesn't resonate with me. at all, because you shouldn't be wanting to do something just because you can, you can make the money. That's an egoic purpose. You should go, no, I really feel a calling to, to want to do breath work, and I want to teach it. And then, yeah, as a byproduct, I could make a fairly good living out of it. And I'm not going to be, ripping people off. 3,000 euros for 6 sessions. I mean, come on, that's like you're charging someone 500 euros a session. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what breathwork technique you're doing, that's overcharging. You know what I mean? So in my view, like, how can you justify that? But it's kind of been glorified and gone. And so there you have the ego's, healing for money plan. And interesting you raise this, because I just got the email yesterday, and something in me said, just have a look at this. I normally, ignore this stuff. So it was obviously preparation for the session. And it's like, I could feel my ego kind of going, oh, okay. And then I thought about it, and I was like, no, you know what, that's just really not the right energy at all. It's not the right vibration to be putting it out there that you're going to be healing and making all this money, and the reason you should do it is because you want the financial freedom. And it's like mixing the modalities. That's not what it's about. You should do it because you have a call to do it, and then, yeah, you can make a living out of it, quite a reasonable living, and support yourself and your family by doing it. And that's a very secondary consideration. But primarily you should do it because you want to do it. You want to heal. You want to, this is your calling. And then a way will be found, as he says. No one can live without illusions. So should he need money, it will be given him, not in payment, but to help him better serve the plan. So it's not like we're going to give you money because you worked so hard. It's like, no, we're going to give you money so that you can serve the plan. You can do what you're called to do, and on the level of form, you support it. I've already seen that with this process over the last 4.5 years now. The art of letting go. It never started. The primary intention was not to make money. And when that motive came in and started becoming a little bit too important, then the Holy Spirit was like, okay, well, we're just going to show you that it's not about the money. And so no one came for a long time. It was like really just not making any money virtually. And I think that process was necessary to address this issue in my own psyche. And I go, okay, well, just, let that go, leave that to the Holy Spirit, and just focus on doing what you need to do to heal, to really add value, to really heal people. And then, trust that the money will be taken care of. And so that was, that is what's happened. And it was a really good learning. You say, okay, well, ideas of getting 100 subscribers, paying X, and it's all, just leave all that, drop all of that thinking, because it's going out of the now, it's into the future. Just focus on what you have to do to build this community, and really add value to people, and help them heal their minds. So I think that's the way to interpret that. If you're doing that
makes sense. Yeah.
You genuinely, like, I'm doing this to heal people, and then the money is, well, yeah, I need to, as he says, on the level of form, even the advanced therapists have some needs. It's impossible to live in a Western society without needing some money, unless someone's taking care of all of that. But then someone else has to have the money. You have to have some kind of financial backing. So it's not necessarily fair to ask someone to support you. You've got to support yourself, or allow the Holy Spirit to support you, shall we say, which is what this is really saying, I think.
I've been a lot of my contacts are other coaches, and they run all these courses that say, you'll make £10,000 a week or $10,000 a week or something. And it just turns me right off. And it's like, oh, you're missing the point. It's to awaken.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I don't see that I'm healing anybody else. There's only me here, and that I'm just here awakening. But there is I don't want to be a doormat and do everything for free. So I kind of like, there's an exchange system going on in the human world for me. But I was a bit offended by the terminology, because I thought you're saying that I'm an unhealed healer, but then when you've just explained it better, it's like, no, I'm not doing it for the money.
For money, no.
For the money as a byproduct.
Yeah.
An exchange, part of the worthy, making myself worthy or of value, or worthy to do this exchange.
Yeah, and on a practical level, it's just, well, you have to have some of it to continue to do the work. There's no way you could do it all for free unless you have another source of income, and that might be the case, but you probably don't have enough of another source of income. So it's fair to charge for it, but you're not doing it for the money. When you're doing the work, you're not thinking about the money and going, oh, how much money am I making? How much per hour? Because that's totally the wrong energy. You can't heal anyone. You're like, okay, we agree on the price. People are happy with it, and then we go do the healing, and then they pay because that's necessary to allow you to keep doing it and help other people. And he says, so the Holy Spirit will give you what's needed when you need it. I've really seen that. All plans and business models and all that stuff just go out the window, and you go, all right, well, I'm just in your hands then. Which then is becoming the healed healer, isn't it? To really surrender and say, okay, I leave that often very charged issue for a lot of people. Money is an incredibly charged, egoic issue. I'm able to leave that to the Holy Spirit and really surrender and just be guided. Then that's your own healing as part of that process. So I think how a healer deals with money is a good indicator of whether they're healed or not. They're truly a healed healer, doing this for God, really, for the sake of healing, for the at-one-ment, or they've misdirected and they're going, well, I'll do it for the money. And you can tell someone's sincerity. If someone's doing it for the money, there's going to be a different energy about them.
Yeah.
So one needs to be a little bit, if you're looking, for a healer, therapist, you need to be a little bit vigilant and go, well, what's the energy about this person? What do they value? Are they really a healed healer, or is there this big unhealed part which is still doing it for money? In which case, my advice would be run the other way. Don't go there, because you're not going to get authentic healing if the person is just doing it for the money. Primarily, it's as their primary objective. Therapists of the world are indeed useless to the world's salvation, and make demands and so they cannot give.
When I started on this journey of conscious awakening, I wanted to train in kinesiology, and I hadn't got any money for it. And I just surrendered and trusted. Well, I didn't really trust. I just surrendered. It'll be what it'll be. And a check came through the letterbox with no letter, nothing attached to it. The same old story you hear over and over again from loads of people. It was for the exact, in pounds, it was for the exact amount. It was some strange amount. I mean, we're going back 30 odd years, but it was £1,283 something. The pence didn't quite match, but all the pounds did. And it was such an unusual figure that somebody should send it. And
you had no idea who it was?
No, it was a check from a sorting office, from the main banking office. So I couldn't check it back to somebody's account. I tried to research it because I was working in the bank at the time to see where the check came from, and never did find out where it was from. But it paid for the course, and it started me off on this journey.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's how it happened.
How do you explain that?
Yeah.
Except by a miraculous process. Should he need money, it will be given him. Well, there you go. there's the check. You need to do this because that was what started off your whole process. And the Holy Spirit has a plan for you. So it's like, okay, well, you need that money. So we'll organize the money. Someone somewhere is instructed to write out a check for that amount to you, and it arrives. Extraordinary how that can work. But that just shows you that there's a bigger plan.
Yeah.
And then here we are 30 years later as a result of that. Maybe another way could have been found, but a way needed to be found for that money to come, so that you could do that course, because that started off your whole journey of being a healer.
And now I have people joining my year course that say, I don't know where the money's going to come from, but I'm going to do the year course and just trust that it will come. So they're living it, in real time now as well.
Yeah. So the way will be made clear if you just trust. The right to live is something no one need fight for. It's promised him and guaranteed by God. What is the right? Therapist and patient share alike. Whatever one needs is given by the other. Whatever one lacks, the other supplies. Herein is the relationship made holy, for herein both are healed. Therapist repays the patient in gratitude, as does the patient repay him. There is no cost to either. Thanks are due to both for the release from long imprisonment and doubt. Who would not? So he's implying that the patient will repay him in money. Say in gratitude. So he's implying that yes, okay, there will be an exchange of money, but there's no real cost to either. Both gain. And what I found, like if I do a session, I did a session with John yesterday, and then Sue. And what I find is that people are just more than grateful to pay. If you've really done healing work, then there's no question of like, I don't want to pay, because they're just very grateful for what you've done. So that's whereas if there's no genuine benefit, then they might feel like, oh, well, I'm being taken for a ride here. So if it's genuinely the Holy Spirit sponsoring it, then there would be a free exchange and no issue about money. It would all just flow, and the money's just part of the flow. It's like, yeah, okay, so that just fits in there, but it's not primary, it's very secondary. It's like, you need to learn, if you are doing healing work and charging, you need to learn how to deal with it properly. Otherwise, one rule should always be observed. No one should be turned away because he cannot pay. That's a really interesting. No one is sent by accident to anyone.
Yeah, most of my clients turn up and say, I have no idea what you do or why I'm here, but I'm here. And I love that, because you think, yes, you've been sent by a non-physical force, which is good. Or yeah. And
if you can't pay, okay, well, let's make a plan. There's payment plans. There's usually people can pay something if they're somewhat functional in this world. They've got some kind of income. So I've created the program so that, well, for £12.50 a month, which is not very much for most people, you can join and you can get a lot of benefit out of that. So there's a very kind of cheap option, which most people would be able to afford.
Yeah, I do regular free events, so people can just attend those for free.
If someone really wants to do the whole course and they can't afford it, okay, well, then you make a plan. You say, all right, let's talk about it. Let's make a plan, and try and accommodate them if they really, really want to do it. So yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
Very good.
So I hope that's given a bit of clarity. on that issue. And I think that then is the end of it. So we're nearly at the end of this. Then we go into the song of prayer, and then yeah, the body of the Course in Miracles is done. So we've done the entire thing, and it'll take about a year, 11 months to do the all of it section by section. All right, so shall we have a look at today's teaching?
Yeah.
Stop that. Let's have a look at the quote and listen. Where are we? Here we are. Okay, can you read that, or do you want me to make it a bit bigger?
A bit bigger is always good.
Okay, there we go. Okay, do you want to read the quote?
What keeps the world in chains but your beliefs? What can save the world except yourself? Belief is powerful indeed. The thoughts you hold are mighty, and illusions are strong in their effects, as is the truth.
Oh. So we were talking about beliefs yesterday. I thought that would be a good quote from the workbook. So lesson 132. So you want to read the first paragraph?
Just as a side note, yesterday I cleared a belief. What was it? Other people were better than me, or something like that. And I noticed the difference today when I did a live workshop today. There was no feeling of discomfort going on it. When I used to feel like, as I saw the numbers coming in, I'd go, oh, there's a lot of new people coming in, and I'd feel a bit, the old days feel uncomfortable. But now it's just like, no, we're all equal. It just felt very, yeah, I felt like there was something different today. So I just wanted to say that.
Good.
It's amazing what one belief can do.
Yeah, exactly. As you say, beliefs are mighty, indeed. The belief defines you. If it's a core belief, it absolutely defines you, your life, your perception of the world, your life experience. That one belief about yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not valuable, I'm not worthy, will absolutely define your entire life if you allow it to. Which is what he's saying here. Thoughts you hold are mighty, because your thought is powerful, your mind is powerful. And the thoughts that your mind has are powerful because of the nature of the mind. It's divine in its origin. And so your belief then has power. If you misuse it and the beliefs are false, then you will put yourself in chains, in the bondage of the egoic thought system. And what puts the world in chains is beliefs. Isn't that extraordinary? Everyone is enslaved by his or her own beliefs alone. And then it plays out on the level of form, like, oh, there seems to be something on the external level that's happening to enslave someone. We looked at the integral model yesterday. So it seems like you've got these quadrants going on. It seems like something externally might be doing it to you. But in truth, it's actually just a projection of your own beliefs. So someone is, let's say they grow up in a poor environment, and they're very, seemingly pressed or whatever. So most people would say, well, that's a product of the environment. They grew up in a society that's failed them. That's the liberal view. It's quite interesting. Liberals would look at the external, and that's really scientific materialism. And others, more conservatives, would say, oh, well, they haven't worked hard enough. They haven't improved themselves, and that would be their viewpoint. That the person is there because of their own failings. The ultimate truth is everyone is where they are because of their beliefs. I find that quite interesting. So a more conservative political view would actually be closer to the truth, individual, interior, because that's really what it comes down to. You may have been born into certain circumstances. Okay, you didn't You didn't have a conscious choice about that, but you had an unconscious choice. You chose to be born into those circumstances. So ultimately, yes, you're responsible, ultimately, but it takes it to another level of responsibility. You're responsible for all of it. You're responsible for the entire social structure, because it's all coming from a belief system which you share. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So it's another level of taking responsibility. But that's the only level of responsibility that's going to work. Yeah, I'm responsible for all of it. The world is a projection of my beliefs and no one else's. And therefore, I can change my mind, and therefore I change the world and ultimately transcend the world. And it's only my own beliefs that matter. No one else's beliefs matter in this, because I can change my own beliefs, and I always have that freedom. And no one can really argue with that. You always have the freedom to change your belief. No one can force you to believe anything. And therein lies our ultimate freedom. Where are we? There we go. To change our minds, to change our beliefs. Okay, so you want to read paragraph 1?
Today's inspirational quote from the Course in Miracles Workbook Lesson 132 tells you just how powerful your beliefs are. They are as powerful in their effects as the truth, because your mind has power, and so it gives the beliefs it holds power when it continuously dwells on these beliefs and attaches emotions to them. Then it unconsciously projects these beliefs outside of itself into a seeming external world that it calls reality, and perceives the world as dysfunctional and upsetting, when the cause of the upsetting dysfunction is really its own false beliefs. In this way, it cunningly denies that these false beliefs are the cause of the dysfunction and consequent upset, and blames someone or something else in the world for these instead.
Right.
So what was popping up for me then was somebody said to me yesterday, well, I'm disabled. And what I was pondering while I was listening to them talk was they had previously had problems but hadn't had a diagnosis. And now they've got a diagnosis and a belief that they are disabled. But they seem to be in a better place having that belief than the previous one, which was probably, I'm useless, I'm hopeless at life, I can't do life. So it's like swapping a really, really limiting belief for one that's not quite so out of alignment. But then you've still got to let go of the belief, then that belief to be free again. So I was just thinking the degrees of beliefs. Maybe somebody can't go from I am absolutely crap at life to I am God's gift, I am whatever. So just reading that, I was just thinking it's okay that he said he was disabled. I wasn't going to contradict it or anything.
Yeah. So to believe fully that you're the Christ, that you're the one self, and only that, that's the end of the road. That's enlightenment. If you really fully believe that, accept that, then you're home. You're free. You've transcended the limits of time and space, and it's the end of the road for you. There's no longer any need for illusions, for reincarnation, any of that. So most people won't be there, certainly not straight away. That's many years, lifetime of practice. You could get it in an instant, that's possible, but in practice, most people take time to adjust your belief system. You've got a belief system, and then you start changing that. And just a belief like, let's say you uncovered yesterday, I'm not as good as other people. That's been sitting with you your whole life. Now suddenly you've got to adjust to that, and it's like, whoa, that's a massive adjustment. Everything's changed. My whole equilibrium changes because of that belief, because I always thought that I was less than other people, so I'm relating to other people from that perspective. So I've got to relearn now how to live with a new belief, and just one belief does that. I mean, what we're talking about here, the Course in Miracles, is the entire belief system, the thought system of the ego going. It says every single value you hold must be questioned and ultimately undone. I mean, that's massive. So in practice, we do it progressively and systematically, just belief by belief. And we start letting go of the old belief system, and a new one starts emerging. And it's like a rebirth process. And that takes some time. There's a kind of inner transformation that's happening gradually for most people over weeks, months, even years, where this new belief system is kind of emerging, and they're starting to accept it and adopt it more, and learn that it works. And so they start becoming more miracle minded. They start seeing the results that reinforces the new belief system. The ego comes in, tries to stop them, so they might seem to go in the opposite direction for a bit because they get distracted, and then they come back on the path. And in practice, that's how it works, isn't it, for most people? And so it's just seeing that. And if you're a healer, okay, well, where is somewhere in the cycle? That's why the hero's journey is so helpful. Well, where are they in that process? Maybe they're still in the known world and they're just hearing the call, and they need the encouragement to actually say, yes, I'll listen to this and I'll honor it. Maybe they in the initiation phase, going through a whole lot of tests and trials and challenges, and they need guidance and support to get them through that. Maybe they're in the abyss and the ego's cracking open and they feel like they're going mad, and they really need someone to say, no, you're not. This is normal. This is what everyone has to go through. Maybe they're on the other side of the transformation curve, and they're actually okay, and they've gone through that process. Let's just show the it was in yesterday's email, wasn't it? Wasn't the day before's. No, it wasn't the day before's. Let's just get to the hero's journey. Hero's journey. There we go. And there we go. So depending on where they are, then you give them appropriate help. If someone's at the start, a call to adventure, there's a different kind of help and intervention they would need, as opposed to someone who's in the middle of a death and rebirth. Knowing the hero's journey as a healer would be very helpful, and to know what kind of where they are in the process, and so then what do they need from you to help them to take the next step. That's all you can help them do, isn't it? Take the next step on the journey. So all of these models can be very useful if you're a healer to just give you a better understanding, more insights, allow you to be more effective in helping people, understanding where they are in their process of healing. Okay. So where are we? Did you do unconsciously projects these beliefs outside of itself?
Yeah, I've done that. So if you're continuously blaming other people and circumstances for your misfortunes, this self-reinforcing cycle of projecting your beliefs onto the screen, or in more specific terms, the continuum of space-time we call the universe and the world, in which we seem to be living, and perceptions that judge these projections as real, is what makes up the seeming reality of your so-called life in this world. Funny, isn't it, that we call that reality?
Yeah, projection perception is what we call reality. And yes, you're saying this is a delusion. You're projecting it from one level of your mind, you're perceiving it as real, and that process, self-reinforcing cycle, we call reality. This is our life. So we're all asleep. We're all insane. We're all asleep because everyone's doing it. And this work of awakening is to make it conscious, to go, okay, I understand how this works. I understand what's really happening. And I can perceive the world correctly as a result of that understanding. Okay, I'm just, I'm projecting out my own beliefs. Everything's my own belief. So I take full responsibility, and I can change my own belief in any moment. And then based on that change of belief, I can get guidance. Well, what action should I then take? If an action is required, it now comes from my change of mind. And so, as we saw in the integral model, the interior shift precedes the external one. This is what's primary. This is what causes the exterior world of observed behaviors and performance outcomes, and so-called results. And if you don't understand that, then you continuously try and seek for causation on the level of form, which is an incorrect perspective. Causation lies in the mind. That's the fundamental principle of the course. Causation lies in the mind. If you have problems here, then you have a sick mind. So then your mind needs healing. That's the basis of this whole course, isn't it? Your mind needs healing, not the external circumstances need fixing. Your mind needs healing. The beliefs need to be changed. Seek not to change the world, he says, but seek to change your mind about the world. And so that's the very simple premise of this course. And any genuinely, healing modality or spiritual path is saying really the same thing. Look within, go within, and you find the answer there, and you won't find it in the external. The external will just mirror your internal change of mind. So that's the way to accomplish true healing. Go within and change your mind. Hence, all healing, to go back to the psychotherapy idea, all healing is psychotherapy, because it's all about changing the mind. Psyche means mind. Therapy means helping the mind. Helping the mind to think and perceive correctly. Okay, so next one, if this process of projection perception,
if this process sounds insane, because it is, but the first step out of this insane prison is to recognize the insanity and imprisonment for what it is, and accept that through your false beliefs, you are wholly responsible for causing it. So you cannot blame anyone or anything else. What was popping up for me is it's all very well wanting to change your beliefs, but they are so deeply hidden that you don't know what they are until they just pop up to you, or it gets pointed out to you or something.
You don't know what it is that you need to heal when you start. You start with A Course in Miracles or any deep process. There's just a call, there's a feeling like, I need to do this. I need healing. Usually there's some kind of distress that puts you on a spiritual path. That's how it works. You don't just come to it because you're very happy and you want to be happier. That's not normally how it works, is it? It's like, I'm actually not happy. I know something's wrong, and I'm looking for a solution. Then the journey starts, and as you go, through this hero's journey of uncovering things, you then start to see the challenges and the temptations are really your own beliefs, egoic beliefs popping up and going, oh, you didn't think you had that, but there we go. There's your belief in scarcity. There's your belief you're not good enough showing up again. And so that's the challenge, to overcome those false beliefs. And as they show up, let them go, transcend them, and go into the unlimited self that you are. That's the abyss, the rebirth into the true self. And every time you do this, you face a challenge and you overcome it by letting it go, then you're doing a part of this process. So in practice, this is happening all the time, and then often there comes a time where you feel like, wow, it's all coming to a head and it's getting very intense, and the ego is fighting for its life, and it can feel incredibly intense and like you're going insane. And that's this phase where it's now come to a head, and you can no longer pretend, I think, that the ego is okay and sane. You start realizing that this is totally insane, as he's saying. The entire thought system has to go, and then the ego is seriously threatened because its entire existence is at stake. And so that can feel pretty intense, and like your world's deconstructing, which it is. The entire world, is based on the egoic thought system. You're only here because you believe in separation. And as he says, when you awaken to the truth, your entire world will totter and fall, and the ego will tremble because it knows that it's under serious threat, and its existence and its world are being undone in your mind. So it can get pretty intense, but that's what everyone has to go through in order to awaken. Okay, so this process sounds insane. Because it is.
We just did that one.
Okay. Recognize the insanity and imprisonment for what it is, accept that through your false beliefs, you're wholly responsible for causing it. So you cannot blame anyone or anything else. Okay, so this is the taking of total responsibility, which for a lot of people is really hard. They're like, well, I didn't do that. Someone else did that to me. How can you say I'm responsible? But when you understand the metaphysics, and say, go to this diagram, you understand this diagram, you go, no, I'm responsible because I believed in separation. I chose separation. And as a result of my choice, this entire universe was birthed. We're all responsible. And now I'm sitting down the bottom of the ladder of separation as a victim of the world, going, well, why is this happening to me? That's really unfair. But in truth, it's not, because that's what I chose. It's all a result of my overriding choice. It's like a high-level unconscious choice, which we've forgotten we made. At every level, we forget. So there's this amnesia that comes over the mind, so that we don't remember what we chose. And this process is remembering the truth. We have to remember the steps we took down the ladder, so that we can climb back up the ladder. As we remember each step, we then get to that rung of the ladder of separation. Okay, I understand now why guilt is there. Well, that's a major understanding, isn't it? I understand that that's a consequence of my choice to be separate, my choice to be a separate individual self. Guilt is the consequence of that choice. Okay. Now you're starting to get true causation in your mind. You're starting to see why the world is the way it is. And eventually you get to the point, you realize it's one tiny mad idea. It's a choice I made to be separate self. And I continue to make that choice whenever I believe in the ego in this world. I continue to make that choice. So people say, well, when am I going to be enlightened? When you stop making the choice for separation, you start making the choice for oneness. You made the choice for separation. That's what caused you all of your trouble. So start making the choice for oneness. And that's moment by moment, situation by situation. And then people, the kind of the metaphysical thing, and you've had this question as well, how could the separation have happened? But the resolution is in the idea of choice, isn't it? Well, I chose for it to happen. That's how it could happen, because my mind has power. So do I choose for it to continue to happen, or do I choose for it not to happen? There's the resolution. Now you bring it all, instead of, oh, well, when will it happen? Something external to me. You're saying, I have the choice right now, in this moment, to choose separation or to choose oneness. That's the original choice I made. Originally, I made a bad choice. I decided I wanted separation, and the consequences are evident, self-evident to me now that I'm awakening. The awful consequences of that choice. The entire world I know, the world of pain and fear and guilt and sin and attack and ultimately death. That's the world that is the consequence of the choice of separation. Okay, I really see that. So therefore, I must make another choice in the situation. I choose not to be a separate self. I correct my mind. I'm correcting the original error, and I choose to be one self. I choose to be as one with other people. And then in that moment, that restores my mind to this truth. And I'm still seem to be operating in a body, and still seem to be, have my character identity going around, because the body's not just going to disappear straight away. But in your mind, you've done the correction, and your mind has then made the correct choice in that moment. And so you're making consistently the choice then to change your mind and undo the illusion. And that's the only way back. So you need to make that choice over and over and over again, as these situations in the illusion show up. And then you keep, each time you do that, you teach your mind, well, only oneness is true. Only God, love, pure formless awareness, perfect oneness, beingness, whatever you want to call it. Only that is true. And the idea of separation is false in all of its aspects, in all of its forms. Absolutely none of it is true. If you keep doing that, eventually your mind will be in such a healed state that you no longer believe in the idea of separation at all. There's no form of it that can tempt you to believe in it. And that's what we're doing with this process. Changing our minds, changing our beliefs, systematically and progressively, moment by moment, situation by situation, practically, moment by moment. Well, if you're rooted in the now, then you are making the right choice. But what happens is we get situations cropping up, don't we? We get dramas in our life. And then that's really, those moments of decision are where the choice is made. And that's what the practice of forgiveness is all about. Make the right choice in those situations. And let them go. So the second step, let me read that.
The second step is to let the insane beliefs that perpetuate this cycle go, because then you're solving the problem at its root, and the manifestations of the problem in all the dysfunctions of your life must eventually disappear.
Hence radical. It's called radical forgiveness, because it's at the root of it, which is in your belief system. In the integral model, it's the individual interior. So what's going on internally, that's the problem. So you change your mind, you change your beliefs, then the external must change, because it's a reflection, a projection of your belief system, which then reflects back to you what you believe. So if it's reflecting the horror of the world and terrible stuff, then that's showing you that you still have false beliefs. So do you see how helpful that is? If the world weren't there, how would you learn what your beliefs were? You need the mirror, you need the screen, because that's what it is, the space-time continuum. It's a four-dimensional screen onto which your beliefs are projected so that you can see them. The ego uses that to reinforce the false beliefs, but the Holy Spirit reinterprets those images and says, no, this is showing you your belief system, which is very helpful. It's the only way you can really see it. Otherwise, it's buried in your subconscious, and you don't know that you believe these things. So we need the world to heal our minds. We come here so that we can have this help of the screen to show us our beliefs, which we can then let go of because we've seen them so clearly. And that's the purpose of the world. It's to heal the mind. The reinterpreted purpose, the ego's purpose, is to enslave you and damn you, condemn you to pain and suffering and death. The Holy Spirit's purpose is to free your mind using the world as a very helpful tool. The screen showing you your beliefs. It's like going into a movie theater and saying, okay, well, we're going to show you your beliefs over the next 2 hours. This is your, let's say that's your lifetime. We're going to show you all of your beliefs. You're going to have all these experiences. It's going to be a virtual reality show. And that is going to show you exactly what your subconscious mind believes, so that you can now heal it and correct it if the beliefs are false. And it doesn't seem like that, because the virtual reality show can seem to be overwhelming and it can seem to be so real. But this is why we need the spiritual teachings, to remind us when the virtual reality show is kicking off and things get really intense. Okay, this is what's happening. I'm in the theater. I'm in the virtual reality show. It's a 4-dimensional screen of time and 3 dimensions of space that's giving me the virtual reality show. And the whole purpose of it is to show me my belief system. so that I can see it very clearly, and then I can correct it by choosing to let go of those beliefs that are false. Does that make sense? So that movie idea is quite helpful. Some people talk about the dream, but in our modern world, even Romana used the movie. He used the movie analogy, because movies were just sort of coming into existence when he was alive. Sort of 20s, 30s. That was when Hollywood started, and the movies. It's like, okay, so actually the universe is like a movie, and he used that, and it's like you've projected it out onto the screen of time and space, and that's all happening in your mind unconsciously. You don't know how you've done that, but there's this mechanism of the ego that's done that, forgotten how it's done it, and now perceives what it's done as real. And to wake up, you have to realize that process is all illusory. You're caught up in a hallucination and a dream. And then you can start finding your way out of it, because you stop believing the images. You don't believe that they're true anymore. And at the highest level, you go, it's all false. Every single last thing I'm seeing here is false. Everything is a result of a belief in separation on the level of form. Then the Holy Spirit is helping us within that construct to see the signs of awakening, to see the truth coming through in form. It shows us these miracles, so you get a check in the post, for instance, or something helpful happens, a synchronicity happens to help you on your journey. That's a sign within the dream that, yes, there's something else beyond the dream, and that the awakening is possible. And those signs are, the miracles on the level of the external. Well, sorry, not that one. On the level of the external world. So the observed behaviors and performance outcomes, if you've really changed your mind, often you get a sign of that, don't you? To say, look, you changed your mind, and then something happens, and you go, well, I have to connect the dots. I can't not see that there's a causal connection between my change of mind and this happening. And then it happens again and again in different ways. And you go, okay, I'm starting to learn that really it's my mind that is causative. And the behavior, the external world, is the effect. So it's placing cause and effect in their proper perspective, not inverting cause and effect, because that's what the ego's done. It inverts cause and effect and says cause is now on the external, and if you are the effect. So your beliefs and your state of mind is the effect of the world. That's the victim identity, isn't it? You have to turn that around, reverse it and say, no, my mind is causative and the world is effect. And that's what we're doing with this process of looking at the beliefs and letting go of the ones that are false.
So what just came to me was quite often when I go for a walk, something will make me look around me, and I'll be surrounded by white feathers. And it'll be a very muddy place, they're not sort of the place where clean white feathers are. And it happened yesterday, and what you've just talked about made me realize that although I thought it was a lovely sign to be surrounded by white feathers, I always used to think, oh, it's nice to know that I'm connected with this invisible realm. But really it's just a change of mind, isn't it? I've had a thought that makes me want to create white feathers to bring me home.
And then that's a symbol in the dream on the screen of the change of mind, because it's like a canvas. You've painted the picture with your thoughts, and it's all happening unconsciously. We don't really understand exactly how this works. Even the greatest scientists, quantum physicists, they don't really understand it. So it's the great mystery, but you can just accept that this is how it works. Okay, my mind is causative, and it paints these pictures in the world, and I see what's inside, and that's mirrored outside. If I can just accept that process, I don't have to understand exactly how it works. You can go into quantum field theory, and all the theories don't really explain it, but you don't have to. Do you have to understand how your car works to drive it? You don't. You just get in the car and you drive. The same thing, just apply it. Yes, you're saying you don't have to understand how this mechanism works, because you won't as a human being. So it's beyond human understanding, but you can apply it. Just Just do what I'm saying. It's giving us a paint by numbers. Just become aware of your false beliefs and let them go. And that's all you have to do. And then you're operating the system. You're using your mind as it should be. And ultimately, you will collapse the dream. And exactly how that happens, well, you don't have to worry. This is, God and the Holy Spirit's job is to get you home. You just have to listen and follow the guidance. Just quite reassuring.
I was just questioning myself then. So why do I create white feathers? Wouldn't it be fun to have like £20 notes or something floating down around me on a dog walk? And then the reply was, I'd feel guilty.
Oh no, because I don't deserve such abundance.
Well, I'd be worried where they came from, and should I give them to someone, and are they mine, and should I pick them up, should I take them home? And it created a whole story going on. I'll stick with the feathers for now then.
So well, it's just a symbol, isn't it? The problem with money is it's so loaded with the ego and charged. So often the symbol just needs to be something pure and innocent. So like feathers will do, and then somehow this process works that the universe, quantum field, whatever you call it, arranges it that there are feathers there, on your walk. You've had a change of mind. How is that all arranged? We don't know. This miraculous synchronistic process, but that it works, that it happens so often that it cannot be coincidence is obvious. In the Vedanta, they say there's 2 signs of spiritual awakening. The first is a lack of worry. You stop worrying about the future. And the second is synchronicity, that these kinds of synchronicities, miracles, start happening more and more. And so you start accepting them as normal. Okay, well, this is just how life works. It's not anything extraordinary. Oh, wow, you just go, oh, well, just another sign, another pointer. It's all, Eckhart Tolle calls them signposts or pointers on the journey. Just another pointer. So it's not about the form of it. It's a pointer in the right direction. It's a signpost. The sign, you don't get stuck on the signpost and go, oh, wow, that signpost is amazing. Oh, look at it. It's so beautiful. That's not the point of the signpost, is it? It's like, oh, okay. Take a pause. Just check it out. Yes, this is a sign you're going in the right direction. Heaven ahead, 10 miles, keep going. Okay, thank you. And then you have the reinforcement to keep going. A little pause on the journey. You acknowledge it with gratitude and you carry on. You're not meant to linger at the signpost or get attached to the signposts. And so you let go of that signpost. Once you've, that's been experienced, you go, oh, okay, great. And then on your journey, and then another signpost will come. And you trust that the signposts will always be there. And the only, use of those signposts, once you've passed them, is that you can remember that a signpost is always there for you. That's really the only. Don't get attached to the old signpost. It was there at that time to point you in the right direction. But that there's always going to be another one, a fresh one, a new one to help you. And that's what the miracles are, isn't it? The signpost saying on the external level here, you get the reinforcement in the dream that yes, you're on the right track, and it's showing you that, which then feeds back into your mind, the individual interior, and it says, okay, keep going, you're on the right track. This belief system is working. So although there might be some challenges and the ego, doesn't just lie down, keep going in this direction, because you're going in the right direction. If you didn't get that reinforcement, it would be impossible to awaken, wouldn't it? So it's like built into the whole system so that we can awaken. Otherwise, there would be no hope, because we'd never get any feedback from the world saying, yes, you're on the right track here. And we just lose hope and we go, well, what's the point? Nothing ever changes. So it doesn't really matter what I think, because the world doesn't change irrespective. The world really is a machine. It's this kind of objective reality which I can't affect. But anyone who's ever done this kind of work knows that that's not the case, because you can see so clearly that I change my mind and my world changes. And that happens way too often to be coincidence. So many people, you want to read the rest, the next one? Many people let go of their false beliefs.
If many people let go of their false beliefs, the collective projection of these beliefs, that is the seeming external world, must also change. This is how we change the world, one person at a time, changing their minds about the world by letting go of their false beliefs about themselves and the world, thus opening their minds to true beliefs that they automatically project onto the external quadrants of space-time, identified in the integral theory and model that we looked at. We call reality in the dream world as more expansive, beneficial situations and opportunities.
So we project it out onto the screen. It becomes our personal reality. But if many people are doing that, many people are awakening, that starts to affect the culture. Groups of people start awakening, that now projects out, and it becomes the systems, patterns of behavior. You see how it all fits together. I change my mind, that changes my behavior. I help other people to change their mind, because we can. Then other people's behavior starts to change in a similar way. Now you get many individuals interacting, and that creates patterns of behavior, which are systems, which then reflect the change of mind of the group and of the individuals. And if it's all in alignment, then the system works beautifully. If all these quadrants are in alignment, you have an integral system, an integral society, whatever system you're looking at. And that works harmoniously and smoothly without conflict, because everything's in alignment. Conflict comes when there's misalignment, internal conflict. I'm misaligned. I have an internal belief that's not fitting my external world. And then there's a cognitive dissonance, they call it. And conflict on the external level happens when there's not alignment. And there's a disagreement, often a different focus of quadrants. So, the liberal says, well, the systems in society need to change. We need to do this and this to change society. We need to, raise taxes, or, whatever. That's often the discourse. And then someone else with a different perspective, again, not integral, will just say, oh, well, actually, those bums on the street should just change their mind. They should make a plan and get a job. And then they have a conflict, because they're looking at the problem from completely different perspectives. But if you see it holistically, then you go, okay, well, that's just that perspective. Yeah, that has validity. That's part of the solution. But that would then need to be extended out into the dream world, and the systems would need to change, because there are some unfair systems that really perpetuate the ego's false beliefs. So none of them are really wrong. It's just where you choose to focus your attention. This ultimately is not true, so ultimately it's illusion. But within the dream world, these quadrants will always exist. You can't deconstruct them within the dream world. These quadrants will always exist. So while you're here, this is what you're working with. That's a construct of so-called reality. And then it's just learning how to use it skillfully from the inside out. Really, to summarize it, it's inside out rather than outside in. An inside out approach will work. An outside in approach will make you a victim of the world and ultimately not work to free you. And so as you do this, and more and more people do it, then the canvas, the reality changes. And if enough people change, then profound changes can happen in society. The systems change. The old structures, the processes start changing, because people's minds are changing. And those are just reflections of mind, of beliefs. So I think we're in that time, really. This is starting to happen. The old systems, structures are breaking down, because people are changing their minds and changing their beliefs and saying, no, this no longer serves us. And then everything goes up in the air, and it all seems to be quite scary, because the old is being questioned, and something new is emerging, but it hasn't quite emerged. And we just have to trust that process, individually and collectively. That okay, it's all part of the awakening process, and the Holy Spirit's guiding it all. So it's all good. Everything's happening as it should. And then there's no fear. lack of worry and synchronicity go hand in hand, because fear stops the flow, doesn't it? Okay, so any thoughts on that?
Just going to write that down. Fear stops the flow.
Yeah, that's why the two symptoms of awakening were lack of worry, number one, and then secondly, synchronicity. Because synchronicity is another word for flow. Flow only comes when you've let go of fear. You're in a fearless state, at least temporarily. If you're fearing, then you're trying to control and manipulate reality to meet your fear, to prevent the whatever you think is going to happen. And you're not open to the flow, are you? Your mind is dedicated to defending against illusions. And there's no openness, no expansiveness to open to the flow of life and say, okay, well, I don't know what's next, but I'm not fearful. So I'm just stepping into the unknown step by step and just trusting that, the guidance is going to be there. There's a great, one of the Indiana Jones movies. Don't know if you remember. I think it's Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Do you remember one of the last scenes? He's got to go and cross over like a chasm to get to the kind of holy where all the treasure is, where the Grail is. And there's no bridge. And he has to take a step of total faith.
Oh yeah.
And trust that the bridge will appear. So he goes, okay, takes a step, and then a bridge miraculously appears. And then step by step, the bridge appears as he goes. And I thought that was really symbolic of like, okay, take the step into the chasm, into the unknown, and the bridge will appear. But he had to do it in total trust and faith that a bridge would appear, because that was his guidance. It was like, take the step, have the faith. You've come this far. The Spirit's led you here, so it's not going to allow you not to find the Holy Grail. That's the whole point. The Holy Grail, of course, is just a symbol. It's not really about the cup of Christ. It's the symbol of the truth. The Holy Grail is the truth within you. So it's gonna help you step by step where roads will appear. As Joseph Campbell's quote says, where doors weren't, doors will open. Doors will appear where there weren't doors before for you, because you're on your journey to the Holy Grail, to who you really are, and the Holy Spirit's going to support that and help you to find a way, which is amazing. Really, we go, wow, I'm so supported and so guided, and it's unique to me. My individual journey is unique to this mind, seemingly separate mind, separate entity, awakening in the dream. It's completely unique to me. The guidance is for me. And my whole journey's been guided by this amazing force called the Holy Spirit and the Christ, and every person is getting that guidance. It's astonishing. How does that happen? Every single person is on their journey, and they're getting the guidance, and the Spirit's trying to help them in their own way. And then there's an interlocking nature of that. We help each other, and the Spirit's guiding that as well. And you can only, that view of life is miraculous, isn't it? I think Einstein said, you either see everything as a miracle or nothing as a miracle. Those are the choices. See everything as a miracle. You see that this at-one-man process is happening all the time. And that's, the thread that's running through life and all of your experiences. Always, even when things seem challenging and difficult. And, that's all part of this process. And that's a very uplifting, inspiring view of life compared with the egos, which is to say, what's trying to find some meaning and purpose in time and space, in form, that when it doesn't have any meaning and purpose. So it's impossible. Okay, so then I just gave you some little bonus there, how to ride the wild tug of change in life, given we're coming into a new year. That might be useful for you to watch. And that brings us to today's lesson, I believe. How are we doing on time? Still got an hour. Okay. So let's have a look at today's lesson. So I think let's do the lesson, and maybe we can have a bit more time on the psychotherapy. Would you like that, rather than do this, because that's going to take 20 minutes, half an hour. I want to finish by sort of 3-ish. Okay, so if you want to read the original and then the translated version.
I am forever an effect of God. Alternatively, I'm an effect of perfect love eternally.
Yeah, again, does the translation hopefully just kind of brings something else in. I'm an effect of perfect love eternally. I'm an effect of perfect love. That's the Christ. That's who you really are.
You've got a capital for effect. Meaning?
Well, the effect is you are holy. Anything that's capitalized means you are holy, you are divine, of God. So the effect is the same as God.
Okay.
Like the Son of God, is always capitalized. It's the extension of God, or perfect love. And there's really no distinction, as he says, between the effect and the cause. The effect and cause are actually the same, as he says. So do you want to read read paragraph 1? I think read the original, because there's quite a lot of translation, and then we'll read the alternative.
Father, I was created in your mind, a holy thought that never left its home. I am forever your effect, and you forever and forever are my cause. As you created me, I have remained. Where you established me, I still abide, and all your attributes abide in me, because it is your will to have a son, so like his cause, that cause and its effect are indistinguishable. Let me know that I am an effect of God, and so I have the power to create like you. And as it is in heaven, so on earth. Your plan I follow here. At the end, I know that you will gather your effects into the tranquil heaven of your love, where earth will vanish and all separate thoughts unite in glory as the Son of God.
Okay. I'm just seeing, like, there they didn't have a capital E, so they have a capitalization is always problematic. I think effect of God, that really should be a capital, shouldn't it? Why would you capitalize the singular, not the plural? But these are just little things. I suppose in editing it's quite easy to miss. Alternatively,
my source, I am extended in your mind, a wholly aware thought that never left its home. I'm eternally your effect, and you are eternally my cause. As you extended me, I have remained. Where you established me, I still live, and all your attributes live in me, because it is in your awareness to have an extension so like its cause that cause and its effect are indistinguishable. Let me know what I am. Let me know that I am an effect of perfect love, and so I have the power to extend like you. And as it is in the state of pure formless awareness, so it is on earth. And as it is in the state of pure formless awareness, so it is on earth.
yeah.
I lost me there. Hang on a minute.
So saying this is a reflection of that state, heaven being the state of pure formless awareness, is reflected on earth. I follow your plan here.
Oh, okay.
So that state is really the, that's the ultimate state we're going to, but it's also guiding us. That awareness is guiding us in our journeys here.
Yeah, I get it now. I follow your plan here, and at the end, I know that you will gather your effects into the tranquil, pure formless awareness of your perfect love, where earth will vanish and all separate thoughts unite in magnificence as the extension of perfect love.
Okay, quite a bit there. It's quite a long paragraph. So any thoughts on that?
It feels very fulsome.
Yeah, it's quite a lot in there. But and really what's he saying in essence? As you extended me, I've remained. So I remain as you extended and extend me. Right? Okay. It's again using time, but in truth there is no time. Right? As you extended me, I've remained. I remain as I am. I'm unchanged. So nothing's really changed. Where you established me, I still abide or live. So I still live in the state of pure formless awareness. That's my true home. And the illusion that I'm here is the illusion that I'm systematically and progressively undoing. I'm unlearning it. Did you watch that? Just reminds me. Did you watch that? The mole. Remember, I posted 2 nights ago. The mole, the fox.
I did.
Did you pick up the? Is there actually a school of unlearning? Did you see that?
Yeah.
I was like, has this person studied A Course in Miracles, the author, or something? Clearly, spiritual teachings were coming in. But is there actually a school of unlearning? Oh, that's so interesting. It's not about learning more about the world. It's a school of unlearning. Well, that's exactly what we're doing here. Unlearning the ego's thought system.
I was thinking that at Christmas, actually. I had a lot of intellectual people here trying to battle, playing the trivial quizzes and things, trying to beat each other in knowledge. Yes. And I was just like sitting there thinking, it's way beyond, it's like filling your mind with all this trivia.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting how the egos were alive and well, trying to compete with each other.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think knowledge is knowledge about the world. Knowledge, I've got more knowledge about time and space and the world and facts and figures, and that's not knowledge at all. Knowledge is this domain of pure formless awareness, perfect love, and the experience of that, which means you have to let go of the ego's knowledge. It's not really knowledge, but whatever you want to call it. Ego's information. Ego's full of information, but there's no true knowledge there. And much ado about nothing, as Shakespeare put it so well. All of this stuff, quizzes and all the stuff that the mind entertains itself with, and when you start to awaken, you go, it's all pointless. That's going nowhere. Learning more facts and figures about an illusion is not going to help you awaken. It's going to help you be happier, wiser, live a better life. It's not going to help you ultimately transcend the illusion of suffering in the world. And so you have a different perspective on all of it. You go, well, okay, people do that because the mind wants entertainment to keep itself occupied, and then often a self-concept. Oh, I know more than you.
That's what I was saying. Yeah,
I know more than you. So so we create these games to play these to perpetuate that self-concept. Oh, Trivial Pursuit. Oh, I won. I know more than you. Therefore, I'm better than you. Actually, you know more about an illusion. That's what you know. More about what's false, which actually is not helpful at all. It would be more helpful if you just let go of all of that knowledge and said, I actually am clueless. I don't know anything. But it's a phase. I was obsessed with Trivial Pursuit at one stage because it's like more knowledge. The mind's like, and then it's a process of evolution, spiritual evolution, growing out of that and saying, actually no, like what does that actually serve me now? Knowing more facts and figures really, so what? It's not important anymore. I'm not getting a sense of identity from it. That's the key thing. Do you identify with it? Become part of your identity and your self-concept, because that's what the ego is always trying to do. So you could play it, but if there's no self-concept attached to it, well, really it doesn't matter, does it? Win, lose, doesn't matter. The whole point is to play a game and join in with other people. There's a connection, there's sharing, there's laughter, so you play it not to win, but you play it for the experience of joining. So then it's you're playing the game, but you're just playing it with a different perspective from someone who's, I'm playing to win. And you'll see that, maybe you saw that, how the game played out. If you're playing those kinds of games, you see very clearly people have these different motives, don't you? So it becomes obvious in their behavior.
And in the old days, I used to feel less than. Oh, that's that blue from yesterday. And
not quite smart enough or good enough.
Yeah, I haven't been to university. I don't know all this stuff they know. And actually at Christmas it was more like, well, I'm tuned into infinite intelligence. I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah. And it'll give me all the guidance, that I need. If I need to know something, I'll know it. But what I don't need to know, it's not concerned about. So your mind then becomes a very useful instrument while you're here. It's not cluttered by all kinds of useless facts and figures. It's just clear, open. Okay, what I need to know will come. I get the guidance. Otherwise, it can remain empty. I don't need to fill it with all kinds of thoughts if I don't need to think. I just use it when I need it, and then I'm able to lay it down. And most people can't do that, can they? The mind is just running them, and it's continuously chattering away, going, even when they're sleeping. Dreaming. The only time it stops is deep sleep, which is why we need deep sleep. Because it's like, okay, for 2 hours, like the mind stops and there's nothing, and that's very refreshing. Without that, we end up going insane, which is interesting. So the 2 hours when our minds do not think at all are absolutely essential to our continued existence here. Otherwise, we'd all go insane. That's got to tell you something, isn't it? So that deep sleep state, where are you going? Well, you're going back to source, aren't you? Back into the pure formless awareness. The trick of the ego is it makes you go unconscious when you do that. So you don't know what's going on. Isn't that clever? Cunning. So now you sleep, you go back to source, but you're not aware of it. So you wake up and you continue on in your dream world without knowing where you went. So meditation is really saying, well, let's do it consciously. Let's go into that pure formless awareness, and we're awake, we're conscious. So we now have the experience of it rather than, falling asleep. And that's what the advanced meditators are trying to do. And then you have the experience of this other dimension of pure formless awareness, which shows you that's absolutely beautiful. Why would you want another reality? Just that state of being in heaven, pure formless awareness of perfect love. There's nothing that matches it on the level of form. So then I choose that reality over anything that the ego and the world of form can offer me. If I start to have those experiences, and you've had some of those, so you go, well, does anything really compare in this world? Doesn't matter how exciting, amazing, Christmas is supposed to be like, wow, amazing. Does it really compare? Doesn't, does it? You can't really compare anything to that. So then you choose that reality over this one, which is what the Holy Spirit's trying to help you to do. Okay, so is that what did you have the issue about?
Indistinguishable is the word that I kept stumbling on.
Which one?
So, indistinguishable, because it felt like it was a disguise. It felt like you were doing it from an ego effect, going, are you the same as me or are you different than me? I don't know. It felt like an egoic word to me every time I said it.
Okay. Cause and its effect are indistinguishable. Well, they just merge into one. You know, and the highest level of God, spirit, oneness. Let's go into this. There is no cause and effect. There's just one awareness. You are that awareness. It's everywhere. There's no distinction. There's no like, oh, well, that's the cause and that's the effect. We use these terms in the dream world because we separated from it, and it's helpful to go, okay, that's our cause, because we seem to have another cause. But when you go into the non-dual truth, cause and effect cease to have any meaning. There's no longer concept of cause and effect. It's just a perfectly one singular awareness, and you are it and it is everywhere. And then you're back home and there's nothing else to do. So these are all just time space, you know, construct, cause and effect, seeming duality. That's where he's meeting us, and he's saying, but ultimately they become indistinguishable. So they disappear and they are one. So right now, if I claim I'm an effect of perfect love, I'm really collapsing cause and effect. You know, I am it and it is me. I am that I am. So I have the power to extend like you. So it's saying, you know, you have exactly the same power as your source. You are your source. It's indistinguishable. You are the source. I am that presence. I am this loving awareness and nothing else. But it's just many, you know, all the lessons are collapsing your belief in duality, aren't they? And he's just taking a slightly different angle on it every time. And I know you will gather your effects. So that really needs to be a capital, I would say. What do I do there? Gather your effects. Shift E, there we go. So effects would be capitalized because that's effect of God. Anything capitalized is coming from God, the divine, transcendent, to denote that. But then again, you know, sometimes, as I said, they get a bit, it's not consistent. That really should be a capital E, I would say. Your effect, okay, well, it's clearly coming from the divine, then it should be capitalized. It's like the Son of God. But maybe they just forgot. I don't know. Imagine editing this. It must have been, you know, a mission. Every word, every capital. So easy to miss stuff. Okay, so any other thoughts on number one? It's really just saying effect and cause become one. Everything disappears, earth will vanish, all separate thoughts unite, and we realize we are one. We are one awareness, one pure formless awareness of perfect love, ultimately.
Okay, number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Let us today behold earth disappear. Let us today behold earth disappear, at first transformed and then forgiven and fade entirely into God's holy will. Alternatively, let us today behold earth disappear. Does that make sense, or is that just me reading it funny? Let us today behold earth disappear.
Yeah, so look at, maybe we need to translate it a bit. Let us today behold, it's quite kind of old-fashioned, isn't it? Perceive or see. Let us today perceive earth disappearing maybe might be. Does that make a bit more sense?
It does. Let us today perceive Earth disappearing, at first transformed and then completely let go of, fade entirely into pure formless awareness of perfect love. Yeah, that's better.
Maybe fading.
Yeah.
Fading entirely into pure formless awareness of perfect love. So it's a transformation in perception. You know, we'll still see with our eyes and hear with our ears and all our senses perceive, but conceptually we're not believing it anymore. See, so it starts disappearing. It's like I don't believe the projections anymore. First transformed. So okay, I'm seeing it differently. You know, the world transformed is the miraculous world, the real world, the happy dream. Okay, so in fact, the world is a screen of mind on which I'm projecting my beliefs, and I'm able to see that, and that's really helpful. I can now see my beliefs, and if they're false ones, great, I can see them and I can undo them. World transformed in my perception, isn't it? It's now got its true purpose and function, and then eventually completely let go of. Okay, well, now I've been through that stage. Eventually I realized it's not necessary anymore. I don't need the screen anymore because I've healed my mind. All those beliefs are corrected. I realize who I truly am, and I don't need the screen anymore. And so then it just fades away. Its purpose is done, fades away, disappears entirely into pure formless awareness of perfect love. And that'll finally happen when we lay the body aside, and all the body and the senses simply disappear, and the world disappears with it. And then it's gone. If you've truly healed your mind, there's no need to come back into another body, have another incarnation, and project all of your false beliefs onto a screen anymore, because you have no false beliefs left. Therefore, no desire to project them onto a screen. You don't need the lessons that the world presents anymore, because you're awakened. You know who you are. And that's our ultimate goal. So it's giving us the means and the end in this lesson, isn't it? The means is recognizing that you are the effect of perfect love, acknowledging it, recognizing, accepting it, and that process, and is a process, will ultimately lead you back into this state of pure formless awareness, perfect love, which is God, and the world simply disappears. It's not required anymore. Okay, so any thoughts on that? Comments, questions?
Can we have a 5-minute break?
Yeah, sure.
I need to stretch my legs.
Okay, yeah. I'll pause the recording. I'll go get some tea, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, are we back?
I'm back. I got really tired at the end of the other section. It was like, oh, gonna nod off to sleep. What's happening here? So I thought I'll just have a walk around and see if there's anything coming up. Couldn't find anything, but talking about did it.
Okay. So should we have a look at how much time do you have left? Do you want to do a meditation now, or should we go into
I've got to finish. 3 o'clock is my latest. It is for you as well. So
okay. Is psychotherapy a profession? He says. So maybe let's just read 2 paragraphs of this.
Okay.
A little nod to it. Hang on, let me just get the recordings going again. Just remember to. There we go. Resume recording.
It's good to read it out live on a call because I read it in my head silently and I'm not really sure how much goes in. It's good to do it.
Yeah, it does seem to help, doesn't it, to read it out loud. Okay, so just read, we'll do a couple of paragraphs. So this: is psychotherapy a profession?
I love this bit. Strictly speaking, the answer is no. That's doing really hard for a lot of people when they're reading this. Okay.
Yeah. Not for psychotherapists to attach to their profession and their identity as a psychotherapist, that's for sure.
Yeah. How could a separate profession be one in which everyone is engaged? Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? How could any limits be laid on an interaction in which everyone is both patient and therapist in every relationship in which he enters? I mean, that's the key, isn't it? They're all in together and there's no separation, and it's just a mirror of us. I always think that when I have a client, I think, oh, what are you here to teach me, show me, fascinating. Yet practically speaking, it can still be said that there are those who devote themselves primarily to healing of one sort or another as their chief function. And it is to them that a large number of others turn for help. That, in effect, is the practice of therapy. But then you say that as the word therapy, but I mean, it can happen in any profession, can't it? Even when I was working in the bank, I felt like I was helping people through their fears of going through their bank statements and their anxiety around opening accounts, or, talking them through a process, which is really an internal process. Whatever you're doing, isn't it?
So you devoted yourselves primarily to healing of one sort or another as their chief function. So even in the bank, you were a healer. You were helping people to manage their anxiety, to let go of their fears, to find some peace in that environment. And then that wasn't enough for you. You had to leave and do it more formally and say, okay, well, I'll actually make that my profession. A healer, counselor of sorts. So he's addressing those of us who've chosen that path and said, okay, we've actually decided to be whatever you want to call it, coaches, counselors, healers. It can happen in many ways. A Reiki healer is as much a healer, they're doing it authentically, as is a Course in Miracles teacher, as is a counselor, as is a coach. It's all about the intent with which you do it. So he's addressing those of us who've chosen this as a kind of, okay, this is what my chief function in life is. And it's to them that a large number of others turn for help.
And then the other thing that's occurring to me is, because I do integrate this with my everyday life to make sense. I did a little period of working at the local zoo. And I love the helping people, and I love the interaction, and the whole thing that I like doing, interaction, helping people become more aware of things. And I used to have this job of being with the elephant feeding time. So all these people used to queue up and have pieces of fruit that we gave them to feed the elephants. And then you'd have bucket loads of kids, that come on their school trips. So there'd be 30, 60, 90 kids all queued up. And then because of the nature of the job, you were told to get these children through as quickly as possible. So they had to feed the elephant and get away. Keep going, keep the line going. And the elephant handler was scared that the elephant was going to kick off. So it was like, keep it going. And it felt to me I was doing the opposite of therapy, because I was putting these kids that are like 2.5 feet tall in front of this huge elephant, traumatizing them in a stress situation where they have to have this great big trunk come down, grab the fruit, which is startling and scary. And then you've got this adult going, hurry up, come on, move on. And I was like, no, these kids are going to be in therapy for the next 50 years. I can't do that. And so I left.
Stopped.
I left. I only did it because it was a fun part-time thing to do. But that I could see that they, even though it's a leisure activity and people were paying for a pleasurable activity, I could see how traumatizing it was. And that was coming out as funny. Well, it wasn't funny. When I addressed it to the management, it wasn't funny.
The ego's plan for, this is supposed to be fun. It's like, no, actually not.
Yeah, no, it's funny, isn't it? Okay, sorry, I diversed, but it was important for me just to air that, because that was something I'd held in my energy for a while and I've forgotten about. So
to them, a large number of others turn for help.
Where are we?
There we go. It's to them, a large number of others turn for help. Make it a bit bigger.
It's to them that a large number of others turn for help. Okay, yeah. That in effect is the practice of therapy. These are therefore officially helpers. They are devoted to certain kinds of needs in their professional activities, although they can be far more able teachers outside of them. These people need no special rules, of course, but they may be called upon to use special applications of the general principles of healing. Well, the ideal way is just to be guided, isn't it? That you don't have any special skills and you have no idea why you're meeting that person and you're just listening to the guidance. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, Eckhart Tolle has an interesting story about healing, because he was just counseling. He had this kind of counseling thing going, and there was this nun who came to him, and she had some illness, and he really just listened to her. He wasn't trying to heal her. He was totally present. He listened to her. And then she said, "Oh, I can feel the healing. I can feel the healing coming. You must be a healer." And so then the word got out that he was a healer. And I was like, "Oh, I've come for healing. I've got this problem and this problem." And kind of he went with it for a bit, and then eventually he stopped it. And he put out the message, "I am not a healer," because everyone came for physical healing. And actually, that wasn't, he was doing psychotherapy, but they thought he was a physical healer. Because they people misinterpret and misunderstand.
It's so easy to do, isn't it? Because when I was using Jackie's bioresonance machine the other day, I could feel the healing happening, and it would be so easy to say, "Oh, the machine did it," which is laughable, but you could see how you'd put it onto the scenario of Jackie and the machine allowed me to heal.
Yes, and then the healer becomes that person and that machine, and I need to go there for the healing, rather than, oh, that was just a catalyst for the healing to happen, right? The healing was actually coming from the Holy Spirit, and it, that was a useful medium. It was a catalyst. So that's all we are, really. We're useful mediums for the Holy Spirit to come through and help that person in that specific instance.
If you go to someone with the belief, or you do anything with the belief it will heal you, it'll heal you, won't it?
Yeah, I mean, the placebo effect is well known in medicine. They give someone a placebo, or someone, you really believe in the doctor, and then you heal, and then something happens and you realize it was just a placebo, and then people get sick again because they went, "Oh, well, that didn't work," and then their mind changes. Jesus even said, in his it's recorded in the Gospels, a woman who'd had some kind of ongoing condition for 30 years, bloodletting or something, touched him, and he felt something. He said, "Who's touched my cloak?" And she said, I touched you," thinking he was going to kind of have an issue. And he said, "Oh, well, I felt the healing, and he said, it's not me who's done it. Your faith has made you well. Because she believed so much in him that she would be well, and all she needed to do was touch the cloak. That her mind had set that up as, okay, well, when I do this, then I'll be healed, because she believed he was the Messiah. Then she was. And he said, it's your faith that's made you well, not me. But he felt the energy. He felt that, transmission of energy when she touched him. But so, he's saying it's your belief, coming back to, the theme of today's thing. Your beliefs are primary in your healing. Okay, so should we do one more paragraph? First, the professional therapist.
First, the professional therapist is in an excellent position. I've just got to move the pictures out of the way. There we go. Is in an excellent position to demonstrate that there is no order of difficulty in healing. For this, however, he needs special training because the curriculum by which he became a therapist probably taught him little or nothing about the real principles of healing. In fact, it probably taught him how to make healing impossible. Most of the world's healing follows a curriculum in judgment with the aim of making the therapist a judge.
Yeah, the world's teaching, not healing.
The world's teaching follows a curriculum of judgment.
Making the therapist a judge. So, the healers of the world who are not tapped into the Holy Spirit have a curriculum of judgment. I've seen it in operation. I worked with a psychiatrist for a while. And there's definitely a sense of, I'm in charge, I'm the boss, I know what I'm doing, I'm superior to the patient, and the patient needs such and such a regime, and I'll prescribe, and the patient comes to me for the guidance and the advice. And he was quite kind and caring, but it wasn't like, I'm meeting you as an equal. I didn't get the sense of that. Whereas the true therapist, like, okay, we're actually one. I'm the same as you. And actually, I don't really know. I don't have any specific methodology. I don't have a 10 years of conditioning of, okay, this is the way you treat this condition. See, because they've been trained. Okay, you have these symptoms, and this is the way you treat it. This is the drug you use. And so it's very prescriptive. And then they prescribe something. And where does the spirit come into that? How can it really go, okay, well, what's really necessary for this person? And then there was one instance where this lady, she was very resistant, and the drugs weren't working, and just very, very kind of resistant. And I had a conversation with her, and she told me that she'd studied the course. So I was like, okay, well, let's work with that. And I just reminded her of, she'd studied it for years, apparently. I reminded her of that. That's all I did. And it was a short conversation, maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And the psychiatrist said to me, geez, I don't know what you did, but she's a transformed woman. Absolutely amazing. And I didn't really do anything. All I did was reminded her of what she already knew. It was there because she'd studied the course. And because I'd said, oh, well, I've studied it, and I reminded her of those principles, it all came back to her, and that affected a transformation in her mind, which she couldn't understand because it doesn't understand the Course in Miracles and how it really works. And so it was like, wow, that's miraculous. But, she just changed her mind. And she had, obviously it wouldn't have worked if she hadn't never studied the course, because she would have had no experience. But she had all this past experience, and I just had to remind her of it and bring her back to sanity. Okay, so it would be nice to go on. It's interesting, but shall we do a meditation?
Yeah.
Let's do a 15-minute meditation, shall we? Okay, so just making yourself comfortable. Favorite meditation posture, sitting on your feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching the sphincter muscle, locking the energy in, drawing the energy up the spine, into your heart center, putting one hand on your heart to connect in with your heart space. And drawing it up into the crown of your head, just pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. So scan your mind, notice any thoughts and emotions going on, any related body sensations, particularly anything that feels at all negative or limiting, contracted, constricting in any way. Just breathe into that. Create some space, some awareness, spacious awareness. Here's light. It helps you can visualize a light flowing in to your body, every pore of your body, every cell, any part of your body that feels tense, tight, dark, dense, contracted. Just breathe that awareness, this light into it. Maybe feel an immediate lightening up of your mind. And so you lighten your mind and you allow the truth to come into it. So remind yourself today's lesson that I am forever an effect of God, or alternatively, I'm an effect of perfect love eternally. Forever, eternally. Means no time. Eternally means no time. Timelessly. So always. You are this effect of perfect love. And so none of the denials of love, blocks to the awareness of love's presence, as Yeshua calls them, are real. So exhale, or just blow away those blocks. Let them go in your mind. The mental and emotional attachment to them, that's the problem. You hang on to them. You want to keep thinking and feeling the same things that are not serving you. So blow them all away with the breeze of your breath. Pull the lower stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here in the peace and the stillness. Come when you let go, breathing in and out through your nose. Nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breath. In and out through the nose. Observe the subtle sensations of the breath. Focus your attention to the present moment, on present moment through that. So your mind is very calm, open, empty, receptive to listen to these words as commentary on the lesson. I'll read you. So I'll read you the alternative version. My source starts off Yeshua. I am extended in your mind, a wholly aware thought that never left its home. So I'm a thought of God, thought of this eternal mind, and I never left that home. I am still in the mind of God, in the mind of perfect love. So I'm eternally your effect, and you are eternally my cause. As you extended me, I have remained. Where you established me, I still live. And all your attributes live in me, because it is in your awareness to have an extension. So like its cause and its effects are indistinguishable. So in this true awareness, pure formless awareness, there really is no cause and effect. There's no source and extension. They're indistinguishable. It's one awareness. You are that awareness. And you are that awareness right now, says Yeshua. So let me know, asking the Holy Spirit to let you know that I am an effect of perfect love. And so I have the power to extend like you. So I'm the effect of perfect love. I am perfect love. Then I can extend perfect love exactly like my source. I'm in no way different. And so as it is in the state of pure formless awareness, as it is in heaven, so it is on earth. I just follow your plan here, guided by love. And at the end, I know that you will gather your effects. That's me and all seemingly separate minds into the tranquil, pure, formless awareness of your perfect love, where earth will vanish and all separate thoughts unite in magnificence as the extension of perfect love. The one awareness that we share. Our destiny is to become one with that awareness. Only that awareness will be the reality for you. There will be no other awareness. And so the earth, which is a projection of a split mind, a belief in separation, simply disappears. It's not required anymore. It's not necessary when the belief that projected it is gone. So let us today behold earth disappear, perceive earth disappearing, at first transformed and then completely forgiven or let go of, fading entirely into pure formless awareness, perfect love. And so with that invitation, just allow this awareness to come into your mind, pure formless awareness of perfect love. Let it arise in your mind and bring you peace and happiness and joy. You don't have to try to experience these things, they will come from this awareness. So just breathe and observe the breath flowing in and out through your nostrils. Relax. Be still. And allow this pure formless awareness of perfect love to arise perfectly in your mind for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. And if any thoughts arise that seem to disturb that deep peace, observe them casually and let them go. So, exhale, blow them out like dark clouds, leaving me the going, gone, to the nothingness they really are. What's left is the clear blue sky beyond, which is your pure formless awareness. Perfect love, just rest in that pure, unlimited, formless state whenever, when it's a deep silence. So just gently coming back from this deep awareness into an awareness of the body and the breath and the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, breathing in, noticing the stomach rise and the chest rise. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just raise the air up into the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. And you smile. And scan your mind, looking within, noticing any thoughts, emotions, body sensations going on for you. Particularly anything that feels negative or limiting, contracted, constricting in any way, shape or form, and use today's idea just to help you let it go. So remind yourself that I'm an effect of perfect love eternally. I'm forever an effect of God, or I'm an effect of perfect love eternally. And then just blow anything that's not that away. Any doubt, thoughts, fear, anxiety, depression, anger, frustration, whatever it is, it's not the effect of perfect love. It's not perfect love. So dismiss it. Your breath, let it go. The help of your breath, notice how the air flows out, the chest and the stomach suck back in. Energy subsides back down into your lower stomach and your groin. Count of 2, notice the weight of your body there, pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling and touching. Your hands, maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. And notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. From this very clear, calm, detached state, no judgment. This pure formless awareness is still there, underlying all your sense perceptions, bringing you peace. So you're going to stay in that state for the rest of the afternoon and evening. And just to help you use today's lesson to do that, listen to the short recording I've given you, the breath break to guide you through practicing the lesson, or follow the instructions I've given you in your Telegram or email message to do it in under a minute. So it is said, so it is done. Now on the count of 3, you open your eyes, just take a minute to look around, orient yourself back into the world, noticing everything from this state of pure formless awareness. Perfect love. Everything is just perfect. Everything is fine, everything's okay, you're peaceful. Doesn't matter what you're looking at, that peaceful perception is with you. Anchor that peace in and stay there for the rest of the afternoon and evening. Remember to practice this lesson frequently to help you do that. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and the session. So thank you, Sally, for joining. Maybe just